What is going on, YouTube? Smolder here with a tier list video, which I haven't done one in a while. And you know what? I decided Summer Games Fest is about to start tomorrow, so if you're seeing this video after the 5th, well, you know. We had the State of Play for 2026 in June, just on Tuesday, and I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and rank this. I'll give you my overall ranking for the State of Play right now, which overall, all-encompassing, I think this is between a 7.5 and an 8 out of 10 State of Play, and it's being very heavily carried by a couple of things. This tier list is going to be very biased based on games that I like and games that I don't like, and yeah. Anyways, leave comments down below whether you agree with me, disagree with me, and stuff. We're going to talk about stuff. There's a particular game we're obviously going to talk about for quite a bit. And let's get right to it. I'm going to go... I happen to find this tier list. I was going to make my own, but somebody already made a tier list. I just renamed everything. And I'll go in the order that the things are here. Hell no. I don't play horror games. Specifically, I don't play horror games that are designed purely just for shock value and grotesque value. Not because I get scared. That absolutely is totally a reason. But these types of games generally limit the player in ways that don't make sense. I'm not saying that this game does. I have no idea. But I have no interest in this game whatsoever. The Dynasty Warriors 3 remake. Hell no. I don't like Dynasty Warriors. I want to say I played the first and the second one, not because I bought them, but I was probably given those games growing up as like a Christmas gift or something. And sure, I played them a little bit. It's not really my thing, so I have no interest in playing it. I just have hell no because most of the games on here that'll be in this category is a hell no. Ace Combat, very unlikely. Ace Combat 8. It looks cool. It looks like, they're adding some heavy story elements to the game. I don't know. I've never played an Ace Combat game, but I've known about them since the beginning, really. I remember them, on PS1 era or something. It's just, I don't know. I've never been somebody who has been like totally, oh man, I love planes and fighter jets and all that kind of stuff. I played a game called Aero Fighters back in the day in the arcades, which was really cool because you could play as the baby or the dolphin. I think there's maybe Aero Fighters 2. And you just constantly get those power-ups, those, what do they call those, rail shooters? Tomb Raider, Legacy of Atlantis. I'm going to put that under interested. Meaning, I'm going to play this game. More than likely. As long as this game doesn't release at the same time as other games that I'm like, yes, I'm gonna play. You know what? Let me rename this to hell yes. Okay. And basically, that's anything that would be under this interested category is like games that's like, I want to play it, but it'll always take a backseat to something that I'm like, oh yeah, kind of thing. And it's not like an oh yeah game for me. It's just like, yeah, I'll play it. I'll play it. Funnily enough, the only Tomb Raider games I've ever played is the original, which is what that one's based on, but I honestly can't remember much of the game other than the fact that there was dinosaurs in the game. And I played the first two of the reboot from like 10 years ago or something like that. Tomb Raider and Rise of the Tomb Raider or Shadow of the Tomb Raider, whichever one was number 2. I know that's 2 and 3, but I played whatever one was the second one also. They were enjoyable, kind of thing. And I think it looks good. I like games with puzzles. Obviously, Uncharted was basically just a male version of Tomb Raider. Is all Uncharted really was, and Uncharted is great. Why not bring back Lara Croft? They want to bring in the more, these heavy-hitting female protagonists, and Lara Croft is one of the ones that is beloved. Why not? Let's do it. Phantom Blade 0. That's a hell yeah, brother. Now I will say, it's a hell no, well, maybe hell yeah, that I got delayed. It was originally supposed to come out in September, along with, every other game on the planet. But it got pushed back to October. which for me is fine because there's another game that's coming out in September that I would have taken priority over. And there's no way I would have finished it before Phantom Blade Zero came out on its original release date, so I'm actually happy for that. But this is probably one of the most hyped games I am for this year. There's a couple other games that I'm super hyped for. But, yes. Yes. Okay. Poncho. This is the prequel to Dave the Diver. I'm putting that under unlikely because I played Dave the Diver for maybe 10 hours. Like I sat down a couple times and played it. I had fun. It's kind of cool. But I don't know. I didn't really feel... I don't know. And it's a prequel. It's all about the chef. Sure, yeah. Control Resonant. This one is actually more like... It would be at the end. It's like right under a hell yes. I loved Control. I've never played Alan Wake or Alan Wake 2. But I loved Control. I really, really loved that game. And Resonant seems really, really cool. You get to play as Jesse's brother, Dylan. And whereas I felt like Control was a lot more of... It was like mostly grounded in reality, but there was a lot of weird shit that was happening. And especially when you were in the area with all the... There was a lot of sci-fi stuff going on. But based on everything that we've seen with Resonant, the entire game is going to take place in this whacked up version of, what was it, New York or wherever. And so, I mean, you're flying around, darting around, and, he's using this, looks like mostly either sticks or a hammer or something. I like the fact that it's melee, too. I dig that. I mean to put this here. The Silent Hill game. I don't play horror games, as I mentioned with Ill. However, okay, so my history with horror games, specifically, or in like scary games and things like this, the only Resident Evil game that I've ever played was Resident Evil 4, the original version on the GameCube. And I loved it. It really towed the line. It was basically as scary of a game as I was willing to play all the way through. And I actually loved the game. Because there was enough action. I mean, you play Leon throughout the whole game, so it's like, yeah, it's a scary kind of horror game, but it's more action because Leon's just a badass. Whereas like some of the other games, I don't know, same thing like Silent Hill. I never played a Silent Hill game. Funnily enough, I know I've seen one of the movies. Was there more than one movie? I don't know. I've actually seen all the Resident Evil movies too, but they're not based on the games. Movies are different than games for me. But this one looks interesting. It looks really interesting. It seems it's first person. It has a very different look to it and a take. I don't know. There's something about it that actually feels like a game that I might really enjoy. Even if there is a lot of scary elements to the game. So, need more info, but maybe. And I'm pretty sure this comes out in September as well. It's probably a short game. Most of these types of games are short, 10 to 15 hours. So, we'll see. We shall see. Now I got to scroll down because of the window. Rayman, very unlikely. Anybody of my generation, give or take 5 years either direction, is going to know about the Rayman games. For those who don't know, I'm 40. Even though I know I look a lot younger than that, but I'm 40 years old, and so I know all about Rayman. But it's not my kind of game. It's just not my kind of game. So I say unlikely because wish them the best, but very unlikely I'd play it. Lost Wild. This one caught my attention. This is the Annapurna game. It's like a first person, almost looks like kind of stealth survivally against like dinosaurs. Yeah. I mean, maybe. I can see that, you know. I'm into it maybe, but I need more information, right? I need. Is it a game you can fight back? Do you get guns, or is it just purely like survival of trying to like escape, or you know, we need a little more information, or at least I do. But I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I need more information. Onimusha Way of the Sword. This one is really interesting. It would be like right in between maybe and interested because coming out in September, like everything else, and everything that people have been saying about the demo is that the game's too easy and you'll be surrounded by enemies and they'll just come at you one at a time. And the game is all about parrying, that sounds fun to me, but I'm still interested. Kimuri. Very unlikely. I just don't want to say hell no, but yeah, we're not playing this game. It is a 3-player co-op yokai hunter game in a really stylized, I'm assuming Tokyo, or maybe it's some other Japanese city. I have no interest. Until Dawn 2. Okay, you know how I said I don't play horror games? I, oddly enough, like these kind of games, though. They're so bad and so dumb that the horror elements, it's like, because it's really just decision making. It's not really gameplay. You know, it's QTEs and decision making, right? They're funny. These kind of games, to me, especially when specifically like horror or scary slashers, whatever, it's the same view I have with the movies and TV shows. I'll watch them and I don't get scared because they're so stupid that they're entertaining. Even though they're trying to actually be scary, they're just dumb. But in like a very entertaining way that I enjoy. So yeah, I'm absolutely here for Until Dawn 2. Plus Neil Newbon. Stuntman Hollywood, very unlikely. I am not playing that game. The trailer almost had me when they brought out Knight Rider and then you brought out the DeLorean. I'm like, what? Okay. Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. This is the game that's going to get me back into fighting games. I haven't played fighting games seriously since like I was in college. So, you know, we're talking like 18 plus years is the last time I played a fighting game, like seriously. I've dabbled, sure, but I am so excited for this game. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that, especially with the announcement with the villains. I mean, okay, they had to bring in Magneto, right? I mean, it's like he is a fan favorite. It's just, I mean, everybody like, okay, MVC 2 is one of my favorite fighting games of all time, I'm sure, with plenty of other people. And Doom and Magneto were like two of my favorite characters to use. Carnage. I don't really care about the Green Goblin, but Carnage? Yeah. Interested. This is where people are going to be freaking out here, I think, when me putting this here. I'm putting Wolverine here. What do you mean Wolverine unlikely? That's like the most hyped game the whole year. This is Wolverine, man. You know, it's made by Insomniac, the same guys who did the last 2 Spider-Man games, and those games were amazing. Okay. I put unlikely. I'm not saying hell no. This is unlikely. And I'm putting it at the front of that list, meaning I actually do mean it's unlikely I'll play it, but maybe I will. If it does well enough, it's received well enough, plan to make a second game, I might do it. Here's my history with the Spider-Man games. I didn't play the first Marvel Spider-Man, the one from what, 2017, 2018, or whatever it came out, until right before the second game came out. When I played it. Or maybe not like right before, because it was one of the 2 games that I got right with the PS5. When I got my PS5, I got my PS5 for Demon Souls. I was lucky enough that I got my PS5 like within like a month of it being released in 2020. And then I think it was a PS4 game. Can't remember if they made a PS5 version, if I had to buy it, or if it was free. Because some games had free PS5 versions. If you already had the PS4 version, some of them required you to like buy like an upgrade pack or whatever for like $5-10. Either way, I ended up playing it once I got the PS5. I really liked the first Spider-Man. I actually preferred it over the second one, at least from like a full story and character arc. It's the same thing I have the God of War to 2018 and Ragnarok. Gameplay in the second one is better. Everything else is better in the first one. Yeah, Wolverine, I don't know, man. I feel like, and that what they showed at the State of Play really solidified to me that I felt like because they got the go-ahead to make a full, basically, you know, an M-rated, R-rated type game with tons of blood and gore, that they're just doing it just because they're allowed to, right? I've been talking about this a while, that, like, you know, until Deadpool, Marvel was like, they ain't touching anything R-rated because they need to make sure they get the kids and everything like that in their movies. Deadpool just blew everything out the water. It changed the game. And so Marvel's like, all right, we can do R-rated stuff. No problem. You know, and it's part of Marvel brand. You know, with Disney and everything. It's fine. We could do it. You know, and Deadpool works because that's the character, right? You know, he was always kind of a raunchy character, even written in the comics. Wolverine, though, I don't know. Like, for me, it's always strange when there's content, or the IP, so there's characters that are, they design characters that there's versions that are made for children, and there's versions that are not made for children, even though it's the exact same thing. You know, I mean, this is a very bad example, but bear with me. Scooby-Doo cartoons were originally made for children. And then there's that Velma show that is absolutely not for children. That show is pure adults only, right? Now, granted, it's one of the worst shows created in the history of anything. It is an abomination that should be wiped from existence. But that's what, you know, it's the same IP, you know, and that kind of thing. Funnily enough, they did make more, like, mature-themed Scooby-Doo stuff, but it was still, like, PG-13 stuff. I don't know. Wolverine isn't necessarily that way, but I mean, there's versions of Wolverine that is acceptable for kids, and then there's this Wolverine that is absolutely not acceptable for kids. That being said, though, it's the gameplay that really didn't get me. I can nitpick and say, like, I thought the blood looked terrible when it was spewing out. You know, it looked really off. Maybe even, and it looked off in the sense the graphics for the blood didn't look right when it was when it was shooting out. It looked good when it was like already like on his armor and everything. But then it also felt like there was too much blood, unrealistically. But I don't know. The gameplay didn't really seem that good to me. Maybe I'll be wrong. All right, last one we're going to talk about, obviously, because it's the last one. They spent 20 hours on this. I'm putting this here. Now, hear me out. The internet is massively divided on this game, dude. The division about this game right now is insane. Who asked for a female protagonist in a God of War game? Nobody wanted this, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, probably nobody did. I personally didn't. If it was completely up to me, this is the next God of War game I would have liked. Especially with this story with Faye and everything. And this is before seeing the gameplay that they showed. I would have liked another Kratos story, but maybe you find out some reason or another that your dead wife is stuck in the afterlife of the gods, and now you have to go there and free her so her soul can be finally put to rest, or something like that. And for all we know, maybe that's still kind of like how the story's going to go. It still might. Um, Obviously, just in the game, you're going to be playing as Faye. That's what I would have expected. And maybe even more so, just kind of like, I would have maybe preferred maybe leaning more only with Egyptian pantheon of gods. Because I really like Egyptian mythology. Maybe because I also just love Stargate. And rip the Stargate show that was announced about a year ago that's now got canned before it ever got started. Anyways, I digress. But you know what? I still come in with an open mind, right? This is Santa Monica Studios. I felt that the 2018 God of War and Ragnarok were both incredible games. I did prefer 2018. 2018 was like a 9.5 out of 10, and Ragnarok was like a 9 out of 10 for me. I was like, all right, let's see what they got. The moment they showed her combat, I'm in. I am in. And here's why. Her combat is so different from Kratos that, and it makes sense, right? That it's like Kratos is the slow, which is funny because in the original trilogy he's very fast. He's very fast with his blades, right? But in 2018 and in Ragnarok he's much slower with the axe. Even with the blades, he's much slower, or the spear, or whatever, right? He's much slower and just heavy hitting, boom, boom. Faye gonna be using a sword, and she's quick. She's got aerial moves, and it looks like she's gonna be using magic. Or Kratos had runic abilities, whatever, magic. But that combat sold me. I'm like, hell yes. And it still looks like it's gonna be done in the same vein of the last couple games. My only two complaints are this. Or, not necessarily, I shouldn't say complaints, but they're more like things that I'm like worried about. Is one, dude, I love Jack Quaid. Okay? I love Jack Quaid. But the cube looks really out of place, man. It looks really out of place. I don't know. It just looks really out of place to me. But like I said, I love Jack Quaid. We'll see what happens. The other thing is I'm not sure how they're going to, the story, they have to be very careful. They've already said that basically this story of Faye is going to run parallel to 2018 and Ragnarok. That her story of this game is going to run parallel with those two games. So they have to be very careful how they do things and incorporate things. And they could easily screw it up. But I don't care if I'm playing as a female protagonist in the game. Deborah Ann Woll is awesome. As long as the game is still visceral, brutal, and it clearly is if you watch that trailer, she's very brutal and visceral. I'm in. I'm just worried about cube-looking thing, and unfortunately, that ain't changing. It's literally in the splash art here. Yeah, we'll see. And then, yeah, I am a little concerned about the story itself of how they're going to tie everything together. Because here's the thing. I don't want it to get to a point of, like, they've already talked about that it's going to be multiple mythologies all coming together, right? In the trailer, you had Sekhmet and Begses, or whatever, however you pronounce the name. I'm sorry for any, he's from Tibetan mythology. And so there's going to be all these other gods from all these different pantheons of mythologies in one place. And they're talking about a gateway, and the gateway looked very sci-fi with cubes, and it looked like the thing from Crimson Desert, dude. And I'm like, is God of War about to go pure sci-fi, and like when all the gods die, some super advanced scientific race from space or some shit is gonna, like, that's what they do, is like they take their souls and put them all into like one. I don't, I'm worried that it's going to go some weird, bizarre shit, and I don't want that because that's going to ruin the way you look at the other games. Anyway, this is my tier list of the games from the State of Play of 2026 June. And this is a long video. Yeah, let me know what you guys thought about it. Leave any comments down below. And yeah, if you got this far, please like the video. Helps out. Subscribe if you want to, keep up with any more things I'm going to do. I will be doing more for everything from SGF, at least of the major ones that I'm going to go ahead and do it for. So yeah, anyways, see you guys next time.